The Valari didn't believe in monsters until they met humans. When their peaceful civilization was crushed under the relentless assault of the tyrannic swarm, they sent out a desperate signal into the void. No one expected a reply. But somewhere in the distant dark, Earth heard the call. Not with diplomats, not with doctors, but with warships and entire fleets forged in the heart of a death world. What the Valari got wasn't aid in the traditional sense. It was an unstoppable force of nature, millions of soldiers born from a planet so deadly it forged apex predators just to survive. The galaxy had whispered of humanity's brutality. The Valari? They witnessed it firsthand. And as the Deathworlder Armada tore through the enemy like a storm of vengeance, one terrifying truth echoed across the stars. When humanity answers a cry for help, they bring the apocalypse with them. The Valari were a gentle species by galactic standards, scholars, artists, and thinkers. Their lush homeworld, Velmora, had not known war in centuries. When the tyrannic swarm arrived, they were wholly unprepared. The swarm did not negotiate. It consumed. Their defense fleets crumbled within days, orbital stations turned to slag, and their cities burned under acidic bombardment. The Galactic Coalition, once thought to be a pillar of unity and peace, offered only condolences. The Valari's strategic position was too risky, their natural resources too minimal. With no allies and no means to resist, they activated an ancient long-range distress beacon, a relic from a forgotten era. To any sentient race, the message began, we plead for help. We are the Valari, and we face extinction. Our enemies are without mercy. If you can hear us, please. It was a whisper lost in a storm. Until Earth heard it. Deathworlder's humans weren't part of the Galactic Coalition. Officially, they were an independent force, a wild card among the stars. Their homeworld, Earth, was classified as a Deathworld Class V, a label few civilizations understood until they experienced it firsthand. Earth was a crucible, violent tectonic shifts, hostile megafauna, biological plagues, and atmospheric extremes. From this crucible emerged the most adaptive, resilient, and many said dangerous species in known space. Humanity's entry into galactic affairs had been quiet but dramatic. Pirates disappeared in sectors humans patrolled. Terraforming contracts executed with brutal precision. Small wars ended before they began once humans deployed. Their peace, it was said, came with overwhelming force. When Earth received the Valari distress signal, it was analyzed within minutes. Unlike most governments, Earth's Central Defense Protocol was governed by the Collective Response Council, a coalition of AI, military leaders, and civilian observers. Within 3 hours, the council convened and reached consensus. Humanity would respond, but not with a token fleet. This was no diplomatic mission. They would send the Deathworlder Armada. The arrival of the Valari had no expectations. They had heard the legends of Earth, the violent species, the world that fought its own biosphere to a standstill. But legends are stories, and survival demanded hope. Then the sky broke. Thousands of human ships emerged from slipspace across Velmora's orbit. Not just military vessels, but hospital carriers, logistical platforms, even mobile foundries. At the center, a super dreadnought, the UN's Retribution, a ship so massive its gravitational displacement altered orbital patterns. Admiral Una Carver, commanding officer of the Deathworlder Armada, hailed the Valari leadership directly. Her message was calm, procedural, and terrifyingly efficient. We have received your distress signal. Humanity acknowledges your plea. The tyrannic swarm will be neutralized. Evacuation protocols are underway for civilian clusters. Any remaining Valari military units will coordinate under Fleet Command Authority. It wasn't a request, it was an operation. The the tyrannic swarm operated like a hive, but with a central AI nexus. It learned, adapted, and overwhelmed through numbers. Their ships resembled biomechanical horrors, grown not built. But they had never faced human warfare. The first strike was orbital. Human dreadnoughts unleashed kinetic rods from low-orbit simple tungsten projectiles accelerated to hypersonic speeds. No explosives, just physics. Entire Tyrannix clusters vaporized on impact. Then came the atmosphere drops. Human marines, clad in next-gen exo-armor, fell from the sky like meteors. Each drop pod embedded deep into enemy territory, releasing soldiers armed with plasma rifles, grav blades, and battlefield AI. The Tyrannix responded with swarms. But humanity had long ago solved swarm warfare. Drones, miniaturized nukes, terrain rewriting tech. The humans turned jungles into burning fields, valleys into lakes of molten glass. Valari observers, hidden in bunkers, watched in stunned silence. One described it in their journal. They fight like a force of nature. There is no hesitation, no mercy. They bring extinction, but only for our enemies. The hunt, in less than 10 standard days, Vomor was cleared of all hostile forces. But humanity didn't stop there. The Tyrannix were a galactic threat. Earth decided to end them. The Armada split into 5 fleets, each hunting a branch of the Tyrannix Empire. They struck deep into the swarm's core worlds, disabling breeding. Planets, destroying their AI nexuses, and dismantling their infrastructure in surgical raids. Admiral Carver instituted a containment policy. Tyrannix remnants were boxed into quarantine zones. Surveillance satellites monitored for regeneration. When activity spiked, orbital lasers sterilized the area. The campaign lasted 4 months. At its end, not a single Tyrannix hive remained active. The galaxy took notice. Echoes and reactions. The Galactic Coalition convened an emergency summit. Not to discuss the Tyrannix, but Earth. There was fear, understandable perhaps, that if humans could destroy such a threat so swiftly, what else could they do? Earth responded with clarity. We answered a plea for help. We are not conquerors. We are protectors, but we do not fight gently. The Valari became Earth's first formal ally. Protected status, trade agreements, defense pacts. Many other civilizations quietly opened embassies on Earth, hoping to avoid becoming enemies. Others whispered of Earth's arrogance, but none dared challenge it. A new order in the years following the Tyrannix War, humanity's presence grew, not through conquest, but through reputation. When piracy rose in the Kelver sectors, the local governments requested Deathworlder assistance. When civil war erupted on a trade moon, both sides agreed to Earth's arbitration. Backed by a hovering orbital carrier. Earth established the Peacekeepers, a volunteer force made up of humans and allies trained under Deathworlder doctrine. Their motto, aid, shield, end. They helped. They rebuilt. But when needed, they ended threats. Reflection. The Valari now teach a revised galactic history. Their children learn not just of their own philosophers, but of humanity's strange balance. Brutality paired with compassion, war followed by healing. Admiral Carver retired to a small Earth colony. When asked by a Valari historian what drove humanity to such overwhelming response, she said, "Because we know what it means to be alone, to scream into the void and pray someone answers. We refuse to let anyone feel that again." The historian replied, quietly, "You answered with an armada." Carver smiled. "That's how we say we're here." Closing thoughts. Humanity never sought dominance, only respect. And when they were finally called to stand, they didn't arrive as saviors in white robes. They came as storms in iron and flame. And to this day, the stars remember. The Valari pleaded for aid. What they got was Earth's entire Deathworlder Armada. Legacy of the Armada. The Deathworlder Armada didn't just win battles. They reshaped the structure of galactic defense. In the aftermath of the war, Earth opened its tactics academies to other species. The Valari were first to enroll, soon followed by the Kore, the Mendu, and even former enemies like the Relsh. These academies didn't teach conquest. They taught survival, coordination, and above all responsibility. Earth emphasized the moral weight behind its power, ensuring that those trained under their doctrine understood the cost of every battle. Valari, youth once raised in temples of music and thought now volunteered for joint missions with human peacekeepers. Far from losing their culture, they found it strengthened by a shared resilience. Art once lost to swarm invasions was recovered by human archaeotechs. Entire cities, rebuilt using hybrid Valari human design, stood as glowing symbols of what unity through adversity could birth. The galaxy, changed by war, now had a strange new equilibrium. Peace, enforced not by fear alone, but by a shared memory, that when death came, humanity did not turn away. It faced it and brought the storm dot when the stars whisper Earth, war was over. But the memory wasn't. Across the galaxy, star systems once untouched by violence began to repeat a single name, Earth, in hushed tones, like folklore come alive. Children of 1,000 worlds played games pretending to be Deathworlder Marines, their stick weapons pointed at invisible enemies. But among the elder races, those who had survived empires and collapses, the name struck a different chord. Not awe, not inspiration. Caution. Because Earth had done what no one else dared. Not just defend, but eradicate evil with finality. Where others negotiated, humanity obliterated. Where others retreated, humanity advanced with strategy, fury, and an unrelenting will to end suffering at its source. In the farthest sectors, unknown species picked up the Valari distress signal, its EC.